Now, let me be very clear. This isn't about get rich quick story. This is about someone who I know personally, who slowly built his wealth over time. They didn't start off with fancy salaries. They just purely worked hard, stayed consistent, invested regularly, and built this over time. And these are the 4 habits that set them apart from the rest of the other investors. The first 100K. No wonder they actually say the first 100K is the hardest thing to achieve, because purely this first 100K, most of your contribution comes from you, and you'll be steadily putting away this money into your investment. And sometimes when you start off investing early on, you won't actually see any results. But once you hit that 6-figure, things will start changing. Most of the people go wrong in this stage. They don't have a fixed goal in mind. And that is where most people fail. If you don't set a clear goal in mind at the early stage, then achieving that target becomes a lot more complicated. And then there is complications about whether to start at the right time or not. Now, here's the thing that you need to remember. It's not about timing the market. It's time in the market. You don't need to wait for that fancy promotions or the big salary hike. Start off small, whether it is the most minimum amount that you can contribute, but staying steadily helps you build that momentum. And when you start early, it gives your money the opportunity to compound over time. This individual that I'm talking about saved up between 20 to 30% of their income and invested that money. Sometimes it used to be like £200, sometimes it used to be £500, as and when they were able to do extra additional shifts. Each of this money that they received, they purely concentrated on building that wealth, that first 100K as their target. And this is how you can do it. If you live in the US, match your employer contribution, open a tax efficient account and invest into index linked ETFs. And if you're in the UK, you've got 2 amazing products. You have stocks and shares ISA account, and then you have lifetime individual savings account. And the second one is specifically for anyone under the age of 40. Now let's talk about Lisa. If you're under the age of 40, you can put aside up to a maximum of £4,000 each year. And the government will add another 25% on top of that. That's £1,000 of free money. And if you don't avail this, you're just leaving that money on the table. So if you're under the age of 40, make sure you open one. The only catch with this is you can only take out this money if you have to buy your first property, and that will be up to a maximum of £450,000. Or you can access these funds at the time of your retirement. Now, even if you don't intend to actually put away all your money into it or £4,000 into it, just open an account. Trust me, you'll thank me later. Because I was one of those individuals who missed out on that opportunity when this was introduced back in 2017. You don't miss out on that. Now, this is a tax efficient account. And with individual savings account, which is ISA, they both act together. And you can save a maximum of up to £20,000 each year. Any capital gains, any dividends that you received on this account are completely tax-free. So you don't pay a penny to the government. And the next step is to automate this investment. Set aside a fixed amount that you want to contribute each month and deposit the money each month automatically by direct debit. And if you want to take it to the next level, instead of investing each month, invest it each week. If you're, let's say, investing £400 each month, set it up in a way that each week you contribute £100 into that account. That way you will accelerate your growth by up to 2-3%. That's one way of taking it to the next level. Now, this is the habit that most people as an NRI tend to ignore. As soon as you start earning well, you start thinking about buying those fancy things like a BMW car, investing into properties like a big house that you don't actually necessarily need. But this individual that I'm talking about, he ignored all of these noise. Instead, he focused on investing. They didn't buy a fancy car. In fact, he actually traveled by a bike to work every single day and saved up enough money to buy his first flat. He didn't even buy a bigger house. In fact, he bought a smaller house. That way he was able to concentrate the additional amount into investing. The most important thing, he focused on clearing off his debts. As most of the NRIs, they probably will have some form of loan when they come abroad. And this individual also had the same issue. This person had a student loan. They also had a mortgage. What he did was he prioritized paying off these loans. The easy way to do that was list down your debts and follow the avalanche method or snowball method. List down your debts, ranking with the highest charging interest rate to the lowest. Pay minimum on the bottom ones and move all the additional funds to pay off the top charging interest. That way you cleared off those loans. And that is how he targeted and paid off his loan. Being debt free gives you the freedom to focus on building your wealth. And this is exactly what this person did. Clear your debts, cap your lifestyle expenses. When I say lifestyle, I'm not telling you to completely devour yourself from spending any money for your happiness, but control it. Set up a price limit or set up a cap of how much you can spend for your lifestyle expenses. While all his friends was buying fancy cars like BMW or big fancy houses, he prioritized his investment, was upgrading his net worth. This one is huge when it comes to NRIs because you're moving from India to the US and you don't know many things that happens in the US or the UK. When I started off my financial journey here in the UK, I was hesitant to invest in the UK because I didn't know how the UK system worked. What are the banks? What are the traders? What are the trading brokerages that is available to invest, whether I can buy individual stocks or not? All of these thoughts kept me locked in with my investment in India. And that is probably the case with most of the NRIs because we feel investing in India is far more safer because it's known and it's a very familiar place. And here's the part that most of the people actually ignore. When you invest in India, you're actually converting a very strong currency into a weaker currency. And that currency depreciates between 4 and 5% annually. Now, when your capital has appreciated in India, it is subjected to taxes and then it is subjected to currency devaluation. So at that time, whatever the returns that you make in India, you'll not get enough return when you move that money back to abroad. So do what this individual did. They diversified their investment globally. They invested into ETFs such as S&P 500. They invested into FTSE All World ETF, which basically invested across the globe. That way, they diversified their investment and not stuck to one individual country or one individual currency. The beauty about the NRI investing, we have tax efficient accounts in our own country, wherever you're living in. So when you invest through those channels, you're basically covering or tax wrapping your investment so that taxman doesn't take a dip or cut from your investment. I'm not saying don't invest in India's growth. Instead, there's different ways you can invest into India's growth. One of the ways you can think about is investing in an emerging market index ETF like iShares, Asia Pacific Emerging Market. That one allows you to still invest in India's growth, but you do not have to directly invest in an Indian market alone. Here's the thing, the goal is not about beating the market. The goal for you as an NRI investor should be to stay consistent with your investment journey and staying long term. Simple, boring, but effective. Now here's the part with most of the people get wrong. Sometimes when you start off their investment, you see there is no momentum in your investment journey. You must have saved like £10,000 and still seeing no returns. The returns are sometimes between 7 or 8%, but you also subsequently see somewhere else like cryptocurrency, which suddenly has gone up by 10 to 20% or 30%, and your friends are talking about how much they have made money. This is where every NRIs derail their investment journey. You got to stay consistent. You got to stay focused on what you're investing. Sometimes the market is really performing well. Sometimes it is not performing well, but you consistently keep investing. And this individual stayed the same way. This NRI invested each month the exact same amount of money, adjusted and rebalanced every time when he felt it was necessary. What he did was, when he stayed invested and stayed consistently and kept buying every month, sometimes he was buying at a very high price, sometimes he was getting at a discounted rate. Now think of this, every time the market corrects, don't get into a panic and think, oh my God, what's going to happen to my investment? Be like this individual. He invested more money because why? He found an opportunity. An opportunity is nothing but what you're buying is at a discount. When the market corrects, think that is an opportunity to buy something at a cheaper price. So if you have an extra cash sitting around in your bank account or under your sofa, take that money and put it inside this investment and buy things at a cheaper price. And when you stay consistently invested for, let's say, 15 to 20 years, you're basically dollar cost averaging out your investment. And over a long period of time, this wealth is going to compound just like the way this individual built it. This is the most basic and the most reliable way of staying consistent with your investment journey and building that wealth that is needed for your retirement. And that's how you build the fancy wealth. And when you stack all of these 4 habits, which is starting early in your investment journey, clearing off your debts, diversifying your global investment, and staying relentlessly consistent with your investment, you're not just beating every odds, but you're progressing every single time. You don't need brilliance to actually build your wealth. You just need to have patience and time in the market to see that compounding magic do the heavy lifting for you. And that's how you start small and stay consistent and build profound wealth over time. The biggest takeaway isn't about 2.8 million pounds. It is this: wealth is built over time long before you can actually visibly see it. And if you're in your 30s, 40s, or even 50s, start today. Pick any one of the habits in this list and then start your investment journey. And if this video helped, hit that like button and subscribe for weekly NRI money content. And thank you for watching. I'll see you next week.